Hello guys, welcome back. In today's Microsoft Excel tutorials video, we are going to see the starting of a very important topic in Excel VBA, and that topic is known as loops. So let us first understand that what is a loop. A loop is something that is used to execute a piece of statement again and again and again until and unless a termination condition is met. Suppose we have a task from where we have to just write the numbers, like we have to write 10 here, we have to write 20, and like this, that is with the difference of 10 we have to go on with the numbers up till 100, that is H100, and we have to write all these numbers. Okay, so one option is you can just select these both two and just drag it down, but that is too much dragging and you have to go till 100, so that's a small task. But what if you were given a task to go till 500? Then it would be too much of dragging and would require too much of efforts. So in that particular case, you do not want to use such a laborsome task or laborsome process. What you wanted to do was a simpler task. So using loops, you can do exactly that. With the help of loop, you can easily execute between the given piece of statements, and you can either increment the value or you can perform a particular operation on that. So in this example or in this video, we are going to start our discussion with a for loop. For loop is the simplest of all the loops, and that's why we are going to start our discussion with it. So let's start. What I'm going to do is simply just create a new sheet, and let's insert a new module. Go to the insert tab in your VBA and insert a new module, and let's just rename it as for loop. Okay, and let's just create a sub procedure, and that let's just name it for loop as well. Okay, so this is our for loop. So for loop, what do we need is a variable. First of all, we need a variable which is preferably an integer, because we are needing an integer because we need to just execute, or we need to traverse between the integer values. One is the starting value and the other is the ending value. We need to traverse between those values which are integers, so it is preferred that you just declare a variable as an integer. Now we know that how can we declare variables. So first of all, we need to write this option explicit statement, and then we can just declare a variable. Let's just declare dim I as integer. So this is a variable, which means that I is an iterator. The variable that is used to iterate through a for loop or through any other loop is known as an iterator. So we have declared I as an iterator. Now let's just start with our for loop. So what does the for loop says? It requires a starting and an ending condition, and it would just iterate through from the starting value till the ending value, one value at a time, and it would execute whatever the statements that are written in its body. Okay, so let's see its usage. Its usage is pretty simple. What you need to do is simply just write the keyword for, then put a space, and then you need to just use your iterator. So in our case, what is the iterator? The variable I is the iterator, so let's write I, then put an equal sign. Then you need to write the starting value. I want to execute this for loop 5 times, which means my starting value would be 1. If my starting value is 1, then my ending value would be 5. Then it would be executed 5 times. Okay, so I write 1, then I put a space, then this is the starting value, then I need to provide it with the ending value. So my ending value is 5. Okay, but between these starting and ending values, I need to specify a relation that 1 is the starting value and 5 is the ending value. For that purpose, I need to use a keyword that is known as to. So when I write this whole statement that for I equals 1 to 5, then for loop recognizes this as a valid statement and executes the line of code or iterates through from 1 till 5. Okay, then I put an enter, and now this is where I enter into the body of for loop. This place here is the body of for loop, and whatever code that I write over here would be executed 5 times. So what I want to execute here is simply I want to show a message box. Okay, that's what I want to show. I want to show a message box, and in the message box I want to show the current value of I. So simply I write I. The reason why I have indented it cause that is some statement that is inside the body of for loop, so it is advised to use indentation. Okay, and then you can simply write simply put an enter key. Then you can press the backspace to make sure that you are not indenting it anymore, and then you can write another keyword that is known as next. Now when you write this keyword next, for loop knows that you have to execute this line of code, and then you go to the next iteration. Means first of all the value of I would be 1, it would execute this with 1, then it would go to next value of I, which is 2. It would increment by 1 until 5. So that is a valid for loop. That's how the for loop is written. Let's see its usage. So let's use the step into function so that we can better understand it. First of all, I equals 1 to 5. Then we get a message box statement. When this statement is executed, you get the value of I as 1. You can just click on OK. Then we get this next. If we just execute this, we again go back to message box. Next increments the value of I, and we go to the message box to execute this. Now we get the next value of I, which is 2. Again we go to the next statement. Then we go to the next value of I. Again to the next statement, again to the next value of I, again to the next statement, again to the next value of I, that is 5. And now when we go to the next statement, we are not going back to the message box statement because our ending range, that was 5, has been met. Now the value of I is 6. So that is out of the range of for loop, and that's why we go to this end sub statement or whatever statement that is after the for loop, and then that is our execution of for loop is complete now. So that's how it works. That's how the execution of the statement is done. Okay, so this is actually showing the values through the message box. But what if you do not want to do that? Suppose you want to store this value in a range of cells from A1 till A5. I want to store the values 1 to 5, or I want to store the values 10 to 50 in A1 to A5. Then how can I use it? Okay, what do I need to do? Let's just write it. Store 10 to 50 in A1 to A5. So that's my problem statement. I have written it as a comment so that anyone else who's seeing this code can understand it. Now what I need to do is use a function that is named as cells. Okay, and in this cells I can just specify 1, which is A for the column, put a comma, and then for the column index, the row index was 1. Okay, actually the row index must be I and the column index must be 1. That is I comma 1, which means in A1 till A5. What I'm going to store is within parenthesis I into 10, which means in I comma 1 I am going to store I into 10, and this is what I have written as a statement. And let us execute it. Since I have already explained to you the running of the for loop using the step into function, so I'm not going to do that again. I'm simply going to use F5. If you want to understand it again, you can use the step into function. So you can see here I have got 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 in A1 till A5. Why? Let's just understand its execution. So when I execute this, when the value of I is 1, what statement does VB understands as 1 comma 1 equals I into 10, that is 10. Then VB understand this statement. Now the value of I is 2, so VB understands it as 2 comma 1 equals 2 into 10, that is 20. Simply in the third line VB understand it as cells 3 comma 1, that is 3 is now the value of I, equals 3 into 10, that is 30. So that's how VB understands it, because we have just given it all in a form of a loop, in the form of a for loop. So that is the usage of for loop. Instead of writing these statements, I simply write a logic, and when this logic is executed, I get my desired output. So that is a simple explanation on the for loop. In the upcoming videos, we are going to explore more about the for loops for a better understanding of the concept. That is all for today's video, and thanks for watching.